and she gave me the go ahead and get started. So welcome, Monica.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
So next up, we have Monica Reyes here today. And just to give you a little bit of background on Monica, she is a TEDx speaker and activist for compassion and truth, guiding and empowering leaders towards self-awareness, spiritual awareness, and purpose. She bridges ancient spiritual principles with the latest in science and braids it into easy, digestible, and practical ideas. She is a certified transpersonal coach, a Kundalini instructor, and an attorney who left her fruitful law practice to answer her soul's call for more. Monica is also my coach and has done some deep work with me. Lots of inner child healing. Just so much personal growth has happened with Monica. She is deeply connected, deeply holds the space with such a place of love, and talk about trust. I trust her implicitly. She is a divine gift to all of us. So I was so excited that she said yes to be here today, because she's transformed my life so much in the past year that we've been working together. So you're up for a real treat with Monica today. And she's going to be talking about how to stop playing small, how your subpersonalities can sabotage and might be holding you back. And Monica, the question I'm asking everyone, the first question that I want to ask you is, what's something that absolutely lights you up that not everybody knows about you?
Something that lights me up that not everybody knows about me. I love imagination. So I love playing. I love pretending. I love jumping in a character. I love singing. I love being silly. That was probably the biggest gift, I think, of being a mother. I actually didn't know how to do it when I first became a mom. I was like, what do I do? And then, I just watching my husband and my own personal development work has really just led me down this road of just being a kid again with them. And it's so much fun. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy it.
Can you tell our audience about your musical Mondays? That's something that you shared with me that I just love so much, and I'm going to incorporate into my daily routine too. So let us know a little bit about that. What is Musical Monday for you?
So for me, so I started, I'm an attorney. And so for a long time, Mondays gave me a lot of anxiety, because it was like, Monday, there's a lot of work, you got to go to the office. And so when I left law and I started coaching, I decided that Monday would be my day off. So that I just started to reprogram me to calm down and just allow the flow of life. And eventually now where I am now, I'm taking these singing lessons, which have been it's been a game changer for me in so many ways. But I started taking singing lessons because really just for my speaking, and I had no idea that it would actually connect me to myself and provide me all this freedom. And it's been so beautiful, and that I would actually really love it. And so I'm also taking guitar. So on Mondays now, I call them Musical Mondays, and on Mondays it's my music day. So I'm singing, I'm playing guitar, I'm songwriting, I'm doing all of that. I just immerse myself in music on Mondays, and it's a beautiful way to start the week.
I love it. And I got to witness Monica singing at our group's family vacation, and I was wowed. She sang "What a Man," and we were all like, wow, look at Monica go. So a whole new side of you, and so much play and fun and creativity, and a lot of musical talent too. You are quite the star. So I just want to witness you in that. Yeah, it's so fun. So tell us, what are subpersonalities?
Yeah. So subpersonalities are, have you ever felt maybe fragmented, or where there's two parts of you that are in tension or an internal conflict? So they usually tend to be what are called subpersonalities. Subpersonalities are these mental constructs, they're identities that are formed when in childhood, and they're formed because either some traumatic event, or maybe we weren't seen by our parents or people of influence. And so we adapt to the environment in order to create more unification, more unity, more security to continue to give ourselves, to get love, to get connected. And so we create this, we start to adapt ourselves to the environment because there's usually some sort of conflict or chaos. And the more that we did it as a child, repetition creates more wiring, and ultimately it became this adapted identity. And most of the time, you might not know because it sweeps you away. It's an unconscious program. And so you're going through your adult life and all of a sudden there's this trigger. There are these markers in a relation, in a person or something that all of a sudden triggers that program to come up and say, we're not safe. We're not, we're not going to get love. We're not going to get connection. We're not going to get security. We're not going to get safety. And so it shows up, it sweeps you away, and you become this part of you, this fragmented part of you called a subpersonality. And these subpersonalities are very one-dimensional. They have one thing in mind. They have a very specific need that they want met or need to be met. And it's usually something very fundamental. I mentioned love, connection, safety, security, usually around, something very fundamental to survival. And so it'll take it from the environment. So an example of this could be like a people pleaser. A people pleaser will please, right? This person, the part of you will sacrifice your happiness. You'll feel guilty, you'll obligate yourself, you'll overcommit, you'll do all these things because you're afraid you won't get love. You're afraid you'll lose the connection from the other person. And so there is this quality within you that becomes distorted. And really all that's needed is for you to provide yourself with that need. And once you do that, you'll start to feel more whole and more integration in yourself.
And I love that you shared that example because that's the one I identify with. And just yesterday, Monica said to me, what would it look like to be all in for yourself? And that one question was huge for me. And just, what would that look like? Like you spoke to the overcommitting and, just wanting to make everybody happy for fear of loss of love. And when we realize that that's what it's for, and, not shaming it or saying, oh, you should know better by now, or why'd you say yes to that? Just looking at it and accepting that. And that's what you've taught me. So I love that you shared that example because that is mine. How do the subpersonalities affect your abundance?
So abundance, it's usually has to do with financial security, maybe. And so just thinking about what might trigger you when you think of the word abundance, or when you think of the possibility of abundance. Am I good enough for abundance? Can I receive it? Do I deserve it? Have I made mistakes in the past? Have I failed before? Do I trust myself that I can do it? Do I have the focus and discipline? There are a lot of things that come up when you think about abundance. There may even be feelings of like, I might lose it all, so these subpersonalities, just like any other sort of limiting belief is basically how a subpersonality starts. Then it's create a whole identity is constructed. And so a subpersonality might be created in order for you to stay small. Like maybe you might have a critic inside of you. Like you might have these dreams of having this abundant business and having this abundant life, but there's a part of you that's afraid of failing because when you failed before, you made a mistake and you made a wrong choice. That's the meaning that you've kept about it. It was very painful for you, and it was very hurtful for you. Or maybe you're afraid of success. Maybe you're afraid if I get all this money, then I'll be greedy and I'll be a bad person, or my kids will be they'll be ungrateful. Like all of whatever thoughts you may be having around that. So then the subpersonality comes in. It's like, okay, we're going to protect you, and we're not going to allow that to happen. So the critic will come in and make you small so that you can feel small and you don't make those big choices, you don't take those risks, or you might self-sabotage yourself in some way so that you don't potentially risk failing or succeeding, depending on what you believe.
So good. So much. And again, that critic and speaking to when you were talking about, fear of loss of love, I was thinking about, it's lonely at the top, that belief that, if I do too well, all my friends are going to go, or my partner is going to be intimidated. And I know I've had those stories and I have played that out because that was my belief. So we like to be right. We like to look for evidence that we're right. And it was like, see, I knew he'd be intimidated. See, I knew she wouldn't want to be with me anymore. And then it's reprogramming yourself to believe that that doesn't have to be the case. And, you know, not holding yourself back, making yourself small for fear of losing others. So that spoke to me too. Yes. Where do these subpersonalities come from?
They come from our childhood most of the time, or some sort of traumatic event. I've seen you know, most of them born between the ages of like, you know, 0, 1 to 7, sort of somewhere around that line. But then I've also seen like big life events happen, like a bankruptcy or something where you've kind of adapted yourself. It caused so much shame and embarrassment that you ended up adapting yourself, or maybe you were in an abusive relationship. But it tends to stem from something more fundamental than that. Yeah, and it's your subconscious mind. And, you know, and something that you said before, like none of it is wrong. Like we don't want to make this wrong. Even the critic that can be so mean to you, like you can be so mean to yourself. It just wants love. It just wants to be seen, right? It's a part of you, and we don't want to kill it off, because you don't want to kill yourself off. There's a benefit to it. It's actually been serving you. It's been serving you like a loyal soldier. What we want to do is we actually want to befriend it and create a partnership with it.
And what can that look like? Let's say you have that inner critic who's saying, you should have known better, you should have worked harder, you should have whatever. How can we befriend that inner critic?
So there's like a 5-step process I'm going to share with you. So the first thing that we do is we become aware of it. You know, and we could become aware of it from a place of a loving observer. And so we can either be in judgment or we can be in observation. And judgment is where we're coming in from the past. We've got meaning connected to what it is that we're judging. We don't want it there. We want it to be different. We prefer it. We call it wrong. We call it bad. We have that resistance, like, oh, I don't like this critic. I hate this critic, or whatever part of you. And so we start off with just observing it, coming from a place of like curious observation, like, ooh, this is interesting. I've got this part of me, and just recognizing that it's just information. That's all it is. It's energy and information. And again, it served you in some way. So from awareness, we become aware of it, and we get to know it. It's like, okay, so why are you here? What do you need? What do you want? Where did you start? Like, when was the first time that I had this critic within me? Is there a source memory that I can think about, that where I remember that this started because of this? Oh, that's really good information. Okay. And so it provides you information as to like why you might have adapted to your environment. From after number 1, we move into, and actually I wanted to share a few other examples while we're talking into awareness. So some examples of this could be people pleaser, the perfectionist, over-identification with a role, a position, a group, a party. Sometimes like a mother, for instance, you'll see like a mother over-identifies herself as being a mother. And so when when the kids go away and she's now an empty nester, she has no idea who she is anymore. That's when you've kind of over-identified. That can also, that's in essence what you're doing, is that's another sort of a way, an angle of subpersonality. The doubter, the critic, the responsible, we got to keep it all together. The invisible, or the lone wolf, where it's like you know, a part of you just wants to be invisible, so you diminish, maybe you withdraw. The nun, or the conservative one, where you know, so this is one that I actually resonate very much with. I had a party girl, you know, a rebel in my life, in a part of me, like in my teens, and that was the wild in me. And so I shunned that and became this like very conservative, very serious. Now I'm a parent. I can no longer play like that. And so I had to dismantle that so that I could bring that wild back in, but coming in from the light, coming in from not distortion, and now, you know, integrating myself in a different way. The overcommitter, the high achiever, the tough girl, bad boy, rebel, the good girl, the good boy, the obedient one. Those are some ideas of some subpersonalities. So yeah, from there we move into acceptance. And acceptance is in essence, you're just breaking polarization with it. You know, you're moving from like, I don't like this, I don't want this, to, okay, this is here. Thank you. Thank you for serving me. Thank you for being a loyal soldier. You just want to be loved. I see you. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Really, that's it. Breaking the resistance with it. And then you move into partnership with it, which means getting to know it and giving it what it needs. When you can find out what it needs, like why it's here, and you provide yourself in a healthy, balanced way, it no longer needs to take that from you, from the outside. You no longer have to people please when you're giving yourself love. You know, you're no longer having to provide yourself, you know, I mean, anything. If you're providing yourself safety, security, whatever the need is, you'll start to see that that becomes less distorted, and then you welcome it in, you bring it in, and you find out what that quality is, and then you start to take actions from an integrated state.
I'm just putting it in the chat here so people can see the steps. So take actions from an integrated state. And what does that mean? To take action from an integrated.
So an example, an example of that would be, let's say that you are, I'm going to take an example from my own life. So I had this, let's say I had a good girl, you know, in my life. It was such polarity. And that's usually when, you know, there might be a subpersonality, it's that tension. I'm a good girl, or I'm, you know, or the bad girl, right? You know, and so I have meaning over what each of those mean. And so the good girl really just wanted to be seen. She, you know, and she adapted to life because she got praise for being the good girl, because my little brother was always, you know, he had a lot of pulling attention from my parents. And so I figured out that, you know, strategically, that if I were a good girl and I got all A's and I was perfect, that I would get a lot of praise and love, you know, from that. And so that led into my adult life of always being a good girl, which means that I listen very obediently. I don't stand up. I don't speak up. I don't, you know, so an integrated step would be, if you go into the polarity of like, I either yell really loud and I'm, you know, and all the things I was afraid of, what would it be like to act as if? What would it be like to act, to stand up for myself from a place of in between those, like the middle way between the good girl? Because there's a quality of obedience. Obedience is like, I listen, I do well with authority, but the distortion tends to be where like, I don't have my own free will. I don't have my choice. But what would it be like to take a choice and really listen and answer for, you know, do what I really desire without really caring what anybody thinks, but not from a place of recklessness, you know, and that would be the integrated way. Or maybe people pleasing. The people pleaser is a nurturer. That's really the underlying, you know, I care about people. I do. So what would it be like to care about others and care about yourself? Because the people pleaser sacrifices the self. That's what ends up happening. You sacrifice yourself. So that's the need. The need is the people pleaser just wants to be seen and wants to be loved and wants somebody to people please, like wants somebody to take care of them. And so you're so busy taking care of everyone else that you completely deny your own needs. So what would it be like to hold both? You don't have to only please others, and you don't have to only please yourself, but what would it be like to care for both and hold both and take a step from there? That would be an integrated step.
Wow. And that you're sending the love to the people pleaser and seeing her as a nurturer feels really good to me. Like my inner critic who wants to be like, stop trying to please everybody else, you know, and then the people pleaser's like, but we just want to love and we're a nurturer. And that's been a big breakthrough for me is realizing that they're all our loyal soldiers. Like you said, they're there to support us, and they want us, you know, to be protected and not to be wounded and hurt. They want to be loved. And when we can do that and stop shaming them and stop saying, go away, it's just that acceptance mode is so much, it's just so much more light, and it feels good to be in acceptance. And this is me. I love all parts of me. And that's exactly the work that Monica's been doing with me. And it's powerful, powerful, powerful. Okay, let's see. How can you transform these subpersonalities?
So, you know, it's really one of the big things is also seeing them for who they are. So because they started, you know, in childhood, they've most likely been stunted in that age. So if you can think back as to like when this started, like, oh, the first time that this part of me started, the people pleaser started was I was 8 years old. So you likely have an 8-year-old people pleaser here trying to please everybody because she's still wanting, you know, the love and the connection from, you know, that she didn't get perhaps as a child. And so she's trying to take it from the world, basically by pleasing. And so when you start to actually see that it's actually a young little part of you, that was a huge game changer for me, which is why like I'll maybe like make sure to have a photo of myself as a child or whatever age I can find of when that particular part of me started, or, maybe even doing like some sort of inner child's imagery, guided imagery, or meditation, where you actually get to meet this little one, where you imagine meeting this little part of you, because it is really, it's more than just acceptance, it's love, it's unconditional love. Can I love, like I see this little bossy 8-year-old trying to be a critic, rather than this scary, you know what I mean? It's like, what are we really thinking these are? Sometimes we create them into monsters, but really it's probably this like younger part of us. And if you can see that and really love that part of you, and like, oh, this little critic just wants to be loved. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to work so hard. Be adult me, right? And then you move into the adult you. It's an opportunity for reparenting. So then it's like, I got you. We got this. Critic, like the little part of you, you can tell that part of you. And this is how you build that relationship of like, you don't have to be afraid anymore. You don't have to try to keep us small. I'm here now. I'm in control. I'm taking care of us. You can trust me. So what we're doing is we're disidentifying. So up until now, when you believe that you are the subpersonality and it takes over, you are. But what we want to do is do something called a disidentification, where you literally can see the little one, the little wounded part of you, the subpersonality, and you create a relationship with it as you being the new source of like, I see you. Like, so you're reparenting yourself. You're the new mother, you're the new father, you're the new sphere of influence. And now you're talking to this little part of you and giving that little part of you what it needs. And you can do that through words. You can do that through actions. If you're creating a part of you, creating some sort of, I would invite you to touch in with these parts of you, these little inner children, daily, or even being intentional. So if you know that you're about to do something big that like scares the crap out of you, whether it's a sales call, whether it's a speech, whether it's just a conversation, touch in with that part of you for a moment. I'm here now. We've got this. I've got this. You don't have to do this alone. I'm going to take care of this. So that would be some things that you can do.
So Monica is so powerful at leading meditations, and I want to ask if you will help us meditate on this and see if we can meet one of these subpersonalities. If you're open to doing that live, I'm an open book. I'm always willing to share. I will share whatever. But I put some of those subpersonalities, the common ones, in the chat there: critic, the bad girl, the rebel, the nun, the people pleaser, overachiever, lone wolf. What are the other, a couple others that I forgot? Are there any others?
Yeah, let me, I have some here. Let's see, good girl. I have here, I'll just put this whole list in here.
Perfect.
See if we can go to Pat.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
So I would love to have you lead us in a meditation to meet one of these, and
okay.
That would be so much fun, because you're
How much time do I
have? Okay, so let's see what the time is here. We have Clarissa, how much time do we have before Q&A? Can you let me know in the chat, please? I think it's 20 minutes.
Okay, plenty of time.
25 minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do this.
I was thinking this the whole time, like, Monica needs to lead us in this meditation because this is powerful as anything.
We're going to do this beautiful meditation. Julie, you've done this one before, called The Door. And it's super powerful. So really the only thing that you need is you need to choose a meditation. A subpersonality. So if you have a subpersonality, and you can put it in the chat if you'd like, if there's something coming up for you, and remembering that it doesn't have to be from this list. You don't even have to name it something like this. It can be, the idea is to just take stock of the various ways that you show up, the motivations, how you react in relationships to certain triggers in your life. And that is usually a good, so for me, for instance, I had I realized that one that's not on the list, that when my husband showed up in a certain way, I would self-sacrifice, and I would say, no, I got it. I'll do everything in the house. I'll do everything. And then I would be very resentful. And so there's a part of me that just took over every time to like deny to receive from him, to take control of the whole house, but then be very resentful. And so that was a subpersonality. It's not on the list, but I used to call her like their sacrificing mother. And so I had to work through integrating that. So it can be anything. I've had clients that also, they call them their own names. So really it's whatever, it doesn't have to be anything like that. Okay. So really you just need a subpersonality, because what we're going to do is we're going to meet the subpersonality. And yeah, so let's do it. All right. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes. And we're just going to take some deep breaths. We're going to start off by taking 5 intentional deep breaths, really being so intentional with your breath. Inhaling all the way in, holding it, suspending it for a moment. Exhaling through the mouth. And as you're breathing, just noticing the power of intention that you have. The power of choice and will and decision, the power that you have to keep yourself alive. Seeing how intentional you can be. And after that last intentional breath, moving into conscious awareness of the breath, moving from the willing of the breath to the awareness of the breath. And now simply noticing the breath. And noticing how when you move into awareness, something picks up where you left off. You are now being breathed by life, by the divine, by this natural intelligence within you. Just noticing and observing for a moment the miracle, the magnificence of this breath, the simplicity and complexity. Everything that had to have happened, both internally, externally, on the planet over the millions of years of existence, in order for you to be breathing right now. Feeling the deep safety and surrender that you already have for this intelligence. You function through your life, and you know that there's a certainty, a surrender that you have that doesn't have you trying to control your breath or make you change it. You just let go. Just acknowledging that you have access to the safety and surrender anytime you want, anytime you need it. Just come right back here. And for a moment, just noticing and acknowledging that not only is life breathing you, but it is breathing me, and it is breathing in all of our listeners right now, and all of humanity. We're all breathing as one and beating as one. Life is beating our hearts. And just really feeling the connection. All beautiful chords and threads of this beautiful tapestry. And not only is this natural intelligence breathing you, but it is what making the sun rise and sunset. It is how the earth orbits. It's the ebb and flow of the oceans, the butterflies, how the flowers bloom, really feeling connected to something greater than you for a moment. And the safety and surrender you have already to all of life. Okay, so from this space, when you're ready, bring to mind a subpersonality that you have identified that is a part of you. Perhaps one who particularly likes to hold you back from doing or achieving something that you are called towards. Just calling this part of you in. And now imagine a big door in front of you, making it as real as you can. Noticing the texture and the color of the door. Noticing any details such as hinges, handle, or knob. Just taking a moment to notice. On the door, there is a sign that says your specific subpersonality's name. Now imagine that it lives behind this door. And now open the door and let the subpersonality come out. And just take a moment to observe the subpersonality. Sometimes our subpersonalities travel in pairs, and so if the one that you have chosen is part of a pair, allow them both in and flow with the following accordingly. And just noticing the subpersonality, its posture, what is it wearing? Is it a person? Is it more of an essence? None of it is wrong, just noticing and observing. Now approach the subpersonality or subpersonalities and begin to relate with it. You can ask, what do you want? Why do you want that? What do you need and why? And you can ask any other questions that you'd like to ask at this time, coming in from a place of loving observer and curiosity. Now, you're going to take a slow, deep inhale and a slow, deep exhale. And now we're going to allow yourself to become the subpersonality. Identify with it and experience what it's like to be it. As this subpersonality, how do you feel? What is the world like to you? You might ask yourself, what do I want? What would I like to do? What do I need? What higher quality do I have to offer? And asking yourself any other questions that come to mind. Really feeling yourself as the subpersonality. Just noticing. Okay, now it's time to be your true self again. Keeping your eyes closed. Take a slow, deep inhale and a slow, deep exhale. And imagine becoming fully yourself. Seeing now the subpersonality back in front of you. And now look at the subpersonality from your deepest self, from a place of compassion, becoming this loving observer, seeing this subpersonality as this loyal soldier. Are you ready to give your subpersonality what it needs in a healthy, compassionate, and balanced way? If so, let your subpersonality know that you understand its needs and why it's here, and that you will give it what it needs. And imagine doing so symbolically. And in doing so, notice how it responds. Now, see yourself outside in the sunshine with the subpersonality and imagine that it is a beautiful, sparkling day. And the sun is shining brightly. You're feeling the sun warming you, kissing your face. Now imagine that a special warm beam of light slowly radiates from the sun towards you and surrounds you and the subpersonality in light and in warmth. The energy of the sun is making something very powerful happen. Now, say thank you to your subpersonality in any way that feels best for you right now. Giving them any last messages, asking the subpersonality for any last messages. Okay, taking a few deep breaths, bringing it back to the breath. Coming back to noticing the breath. Coming back into your body. Go ahead and let's end with 3 deep breaths coming into the room, August 26, 2021. Feeling yourself re-inhabit your adult self. And whenever you're ready, opening up your eyes.
Thank you, Monica. That was so beautiful. I'm trying to come back to my conscious mind, and it's funny to play both roles. And like, I'm the interviewer, host, and I'm also in my subpersonalities. Like, which Julie are we talking to right now? Clarissa, please let me know when we're starting Q&A. But until we do that, I would love to share, what I saw and, receive Monica's insights on it. So interesting, I saw 2 versions of myself. The one that I actually saw the last time I did this with Monica was my, and I remember it as the age, so I was in 6th grade. And it was when I felt like I didn't fit in. I was just started Catholic school. I felt like I looked very different, was not the definition of beauty. And I was with all girls. So it was very much in my face, like, you don't look like these beautiful girls. You're not beautiful. And today when I did the subpersonality, I saw myself right before that. And I looked completely different. It was like my skin was really fair. My hair was much darker. It was interesting to see how different I looked in both of these meditations. And when I saw her, I thought, that's not even me. Who is that? And what I was thinking was, oh, that's someone who's like jealous of me because I'm beautiful now and she didn't feel beautiful. And she's like, how dare you be beautiful now? Because we're not beautiful. How dare you like change your hair color and you look completely different? Like, what are you doing? So she was my critic that was like, you're way too bright. You're way too beautiful today. And that's not us. So stop it. And the sixth grade version of me look completely different too. And I was just like, wait, which me am I talking to? But it kind of, I was asking about it. And what I got was I had a story that others look at me and say, you're too bright, you're too much. And I have had people tell me, you trigger me, you intimidate me. So my story was, I intimidate people. I'm too much. I'm too bright. I need to dim myself. I shouldn't look the way I do with blonde hair and blue eyes. That's not safe anymore, because that's the ideal of beauty that I have, and that's not safe. So I shouldn't look like this. And that was my story, but it was actually my inner critic saying, we're not beautiful. Like, don't believe them. We're not beautiful. And it was a realization that she is me, and all of these versions are me. It's pretty wild. So
Very
what
wild.
do you, insights into that, Monica?
Yeah, so what comes to mind is how can you welcome and love all of them? And what does it look like to provide them with what they need, you know, in an everyday life? What does it look like to provide them with what they need? Because, you know, the critic is just protecting you from whatever pain you experienced as, you know, whenever you felt like, or whatever you're afraid of, like if I'm too bright, then X will happen.
So good.
So what does that part of you need?
Let me ask my intuition. It feels like it goes back to that, like letting go of the definition of beauty and what it is like to look a certain way. And I remember you asking me yesterday about what does it look like to love your body, and I was like, I love my body. Like, next, like I really was very dismissive of that, because I was like, I lost a lot of weight, I work out all the time, I'm healthy, I'm good. But it's letting go of that definition of what is it to be beautiful, what does that look like, you know, by other people's standards. It feels like letting go of that, like you need to look this way, you need to appear this way to be beautiful. But then also the other side of it, of it's not safe to look like that because I want that and I don't have that.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you. So I feel like yeah, there's some sort of, there's like a dissonance happening, but ultimately if you just loved yourself in all of those iterations, like without the blonde hair and blue eyes, and saw the beauty in all of you and all of those versions of you, then it really doesn't matter whether you're blonde hair and blue eyes anyway, because if you really truly are able to unconditionally love those past versions of you, then you won't be needing that acceptance from out there because you've already self-accepted.
And what do you think it's about that I've had people, and maybe they're just mirrors, I've had people say, like explicitly, like you have blonde hair and blue eyes, like you have what everyone wants, and it feels like it's from a place of like condemning me, like I somehow chose to have blue eyes. I do dye my hair blonde. I'm not a blonde, I'm a brunette. But I've had a couple people tell me within the past year in a way that sounded condemning, like, well, you have blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm like, so?
And so where's the just like me version of that? When might have you said that? Did you internally say any of that when you went to that school with all the blonde hair, blue eyed girls? Did you ever feel that way?
Yeah, I remember them telling me like I couldn't wear certain things. Like we had a uniform and they would still say, you can't wear your hair like that. You're not one of us. You can't wear that kind of jewelry. You're not one of us. Like I feel like they reminded me a lot that I wasn't one of them. And so that might be what I'm feeling now.
Yeah, there feels like something to look into in that specific situation, because that situation it came up yesterday a little bit. And so I feel like perhaps there's something around your relationship to what those young women mean to you symbolically. And perhaps, maybe there's like forgiveness, loving them, thanking them for being the perfect teachers and and characters or in your journey that you needed in order for you to experience what you need to experience. Because now if there is still a part of you that feels like blonde hair and blue eyes means them, then what does it mean now that you're that?
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, so it is kind of like that self-deprecating, because I associate that with them and the others that I'm not. And even in this meditation, I looked at her and I was like, that's not me. She doesn't look anything like me. Oh, that must be everybody else. And it took me a while to realize that she was that younger version of me. Wow. I can see I have some more work to do here. There's always more work to do, right? Like layers, or just take off those layers. And if y'all have any questions for Monica, we are going to open it up for the Q&A. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat there, and we will open that up. Audie has a question here. She said, when our subpersonality comes out, what steps should be done to bring ourselves back to where we should be?
So first thing is there's an invitation to, it's not about, it's a should, it's kind of like, there's nothing that you should do. It's more of an invitation. Because the minute we make it into should, then, then it's almost like you lose choice. So what we could do if your subpersonality comes out, so if meaning like if you've been taken over by a subpersonality in the moment, really what you're wanting to do is to build that disidentification. So doing something like this meditation is a perfect way, because like in this meditation that we just did, we saw the subpersonality outside of us, and that allows for what's called, like I mentioned, disidentification, where you can see that it's not actually you, it's only a part of you. You are whole, you are pure awareness. And we want to look at all of these from that state. And so when the subpersonality shows up, how can I get to that space of pure awareness? How can I reground myself as the adult me? How can I reground myself as the center, where I realize I just identify from the subpersonality? So the more that you get to know it, the more that you touch in with it as you being the adult you, the more that you journal. So like journaling about what you saw in the visualization would be a really great thing. And then asking it other questions, like I had mentioned earlier, like what do what really digging into, like, why are you here and what do you need? And giving it to yourself, giving it to that part of you in a way that can be intentional. Like I know that, whenever I think you mentioned looks drained and filled with resentment. So what does that part of you need right now? Is it needing to slow down? Is it needing rest? Is it needing to speak up? Is it needing to ask for what you need? Is it needing to be open to receiving? So those are all ways that you can provide yourself with that sort of self-love, so that it doesn't have to, because it's doing all of this, the resentment and the feeling drained, like is like ding ding ding, please look here, there's some, we're not giving ourselves the self-love that we really want or that we really need. And you'll find very strategic ways to do that. So really the key is going to be just to find out why it's here. What does it need? How can I provide that to myself? And sticking to it and creating a relationship to it, which is why when you can see that it's a little you, you're like not letting yourself down, really like staying consistent with it, tying it with specific activities. If there's something that that you give your power away when this person comes along, so then checking in with yourself before you talk to that person, and all doing it from a place of loving observer. Another thing that you can do is to tap into your senses. if you get swept away, but the hardest part is going to be to remember here, because it's an unconscious program. So you might not actually know that you're in it. So meditating allows you to develop that prefrontal cortex so that you can become more aware more often. Mindfulness will allow you to do that as well, so that when something's happening, you'd be like, ooh, I'm having an experience right now. Okay, what do I want to do with this? Ooh, the subpersonality is taking over. Like, you really will feel that. But you've got to train your brain and train your attention.
We have another question from Olga. What are some things you can do to identify what your subpersonality might be? Where to start? I feel like I have more than one.
You definitely have more than one. We all have more than one. So some things that you can do are, really just like taking stock, like I mentioned earlier, of the ways in which you react in various situations that aren't your highest self. Maybe it's considering the various styles of being you. So like, what are your prominent dominant traits? What are your attitudes or your motives? Like, so I like to take, most people do a lot of professional development. Like, you set all these goals and like, okay, I'm going to hit my financial goals and I'm going to do it. Like, that's usually where the world goes. And so I like to do that same thing with my personal development. So I like to look at all the different areas of my life, and I like to see, how do I show up with my husband? How do I show up with my children? How do I show up with my mother? How do I show up with myself? How do I show up with work? And taking a look at the ways that I show up in all those ways, looking at different what are the belief systems that I might have there? What are the feelings? And just really, it's just getting to know yourself. This is the journey of life. It's self-discovery. It requires you to slow down and actually taking the space to meet some of these parts of you. Maybe taking a look at the list of subpersonalities that I posted in the chat and seeing, do any of these resonate with me? And is there anything where I feel over-identified, where meaning if someone were to take it away, I would know who I was, or if someone were to take it away, I would feel devastated. Like, where am I feeling overly attached in my life? That's another way to take a look at identifying.
Yeah, for me, it's also the one that triggers me. Like, I looked on the list and I saw people pleaser, and I'm like, oh, I hate that part of me. So it's the part that, like, you look at that list and you're just like, oh, because that is part of you that you might have, shamed. And it's not okay to be a people pleaser. And I know I've said that before, like, enough with the people pleasing, but she's a part of me and she's one of my loyal soldiers. And she just wants to love and nurture. Monica, you mentioned about being whole, that we're already whole now. How can we see ourselves as whole and love all parts of ourselves?
How can we? It's a beautiful question. I had mentioned the skill already of observation. That's probably that's I feel like a prerequisite here, because when we go into judgment, so there is an easy quick, easy. So we have 5 minutes and it's perfect. We're going to take 30 seconds and 30 seconds. Find an inanimate object right now, right in front of you, whether it's anything, a pen, a piece of paper, a bracelet, whatever you see in front of you, and just find that. Because we're going to do a quick exercise just so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, once you have your object, go ahead and take a moment and judge it quietly, silently. So just judge the hell out of it. Don't censor yourself. Okay, stop. Now, look at that same object and take a space of, like a scientist, observation. So now you're just looking at it from the form, the texture, the colors, the reflections, the structure, the lines. Just observing it. You've never seen it before, and you're coming in with curiosity and wonder. Okay, stop. So what you might have noticed in that is, in judgment, we kind of quote, it's all meaning, it's all memories, it's all like, I want it to be different. It could either be negative or positive judgment. In observation, it's a different space, almost like a spaciousness of appreciation of like, ooh, I never noticed that about that before. I've never seen that about that, and it gives us access to insight, gives us access to appreciation and curiosity. So when we're, when we're looking at these, our whole self and looking at these parts of us, if we can come in from that place of observation, just understanding that this part of us has been serving us, and we don't have to take it forward with us. But if we can just understand and see that if we welcome all of it in and realize that we are highly differentiated and we're a unified, highly differentiated organism, and just allowing them all to have a seat at the table and looking at it all from a loving observer, that is so incredibly healing. And realizing that you are whole exactly as you are. I mean, and it really is just our own belief that we aren't, our own belief that we need something that we don't have. We are the answer. We are our own guru. We have everything that we need.
I love that exercise. That is such a beautiful reminder of the difference between judgment and observation, and how we can do that with our relationships as well, and come from that place of neutral observation is so deeply powerful. So love that. Thank you so much, Monica. This has been incredible. I'm really happy we recorded this so I can go back to the meditation, because that's one of my favorites that you do. And Monica is offering us a free gift as well. It's called the Remembrance Meditation, and Clarissa is going to put a link to it in the chat there. And thank you so much, Monica. This was so much fun. I am so happy that you're on my path, and that you're going to continue on my path, and I'm choosing to continue on this journey with me, because it's been deeply powerful and life-changing in every area. And I am just so grateful for you and thankful for the time that you gave our audience and me and everyone in this space. It's, you changed the field. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Honor. Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining in. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.